Welcome, fans, to a special podcast tonight, a dedicated review of the AEW Fight Forever video game that was released a little while ago now, but is still creating a lot of discussion amongst video game and wrestling fans. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and I'm pleased to have on for the first time on the Hannibal TV Jake Walker, a name that you're probably familiar with if you're following our interviews, as he is our current talent, on-air talent liaison, who does a lot of the footwork to bring the interviews that you see on the Hannibal TV. Jake, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Looking forward to this because, as I mentioned to you off air, I am a fan of wrestling games per se, dating back too long, given my aged status, but also recently purchased the Retromania console, and that is a very fun play. So it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up compared to other titles. Now, if you would enlighten the fans as to your background with gaming and how you became interested in the genre.
All right. So just quick background on my gaming. That goes back to probably when I was around 2 years old, and I played like Blades of Steel on the NES. That was probably my first on the TV there, and then like probably years and years and years. Go to Super Nintendo. Let's go to Super Nintendo, and then I probably started playing like the Super Royal Rumble, the Super WrestleMania, the WCW Super Brawl. I remember playing that on the old little black and white TV.
Oh wow!
Yeah, man. So I've been around video games probably like 30 years now.
And is there not a unique synergy between wrestling and especially in the modern era and video game fans? There's a lot of crossover, correct? Is that your experience as well?
Oh, absolutely. And I hear that now the guys in the back are playing video games as compared to going out and partying and stuff like that, or even more training. So yeah, of course there's a crossover. Yeah.
Do you have a love for the old school N64 No Mercy game that I played a long time ago? But it seems that when folks are listing the pantheon of wrestling video games, that always seems to be near the top. Do you understand why that may be?
Oh, it's just fun, man, and it was easy. You just pick it up and play, and along you go. Like, it was super simple. I will say one thing though. If you ever have the chance to play virtual pro wrestling on N64, oh my God, number 2 especially, like, oh, you can play as Vader and friggin' Stan Hansen. Who else is on there? So many guys. I think Sabu was even on there. I want to say. Yeah, it was fun, and you could play in like the outdoor stadiums and stuff like that. Again, virtual pro wrestling too, man. That's definitely recommend that.
Now, is that one of the titles that you can find on the retro packs, or the games that plug in via your into your television via the USB port? Like, I was quite excited to see that WWF WrestleFest is available on a couple of those platforms, which is my all-time favorite wrestling game. Never got sick of playing that. Is that one of the ones that you can find there?
So unfortunately, if you're tech savvy enough, you can unplug your SSD or whatever, plug it into your computer and download it. But I don't think you'll be finding that on just your like plug and play ready to go, sadly.
So coming back to Fight Forever, there was a lot of discussion in the months, or actually year plus, leading up to the release, in terms of the problems that were associated with the development, and the whole project seemed to be plagued with some major issues under the alleged developmental leadership of Kenny Omega. What do you know of that situation?
All I know is that he tried to make it the best that he could and bring back that old school THQ no mercy mentality. But I mean, it took them way too long. They kept promising, "Oh yeah, it'll be out this month, this month." That month came, nothing came. All all I can gather is like he tried to do his best, but then at the end it's like we have to push this product out, so let's just do it, and then once the mistakes happen we can just fix them as we go.
Well, fair enough. It certainly wasn't from lack of fanfare or publicity that
No.
the delays were encountered. So now it's finally released, and you've picked up your copy. Where do you want to start in terms of soup to nuts for the viewers of the Hannibal TV who may be interested in picking it up? And we're not going to uh, spoil the ending, but you will be giving a recommendation in terms of picking it up or not. So
Yeah.
where would you like to begin? I did notice in some of the clips that you sent that the initial game, or sorry, the gameplay itself seems very smooth and reminiscent of a THQ game.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, it's actually surprisingly smooth because I read reviews and things and people are saying, "Oh yeah, it's glitchy." I haven't encountered a single glitch yet, man.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. um, yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that. But let's start. I guess let's just start gameplay. Singles matches. I guess let's just start from that and like break down. Do you want to do it that way or?
Well, before we get into that, can you run down the which a lot of fans are interested in right off the bat, and that's the roster. Given this huge roster that AEW has, can you talk about the folks that are available or playable characters when you
See
buy
that?
it initially?
Yeah. See, that's the first strike. Like honestly, bad because like you and I were talking off air, they have 150 plus uh, people there. And from what I see, there's 30 to begin with. And then they have, okay, there's Aubrey. Oh, sorry. There are four people that you can unlock. And then there are, I believe, 2 or 3 different attires that you get after playing through your Road to Elite or friggin' achievements, which are pain in the butt, but we can get to that too.
Mhm.
So yeah, there are about 30 people there, which is a head scratcher.
And did you say there are 4 unlockable characters, of which Aubrey Edwards is one?
Okay, so uh, I take that back. Aubrey Edwards, I believe, is already in there. You just have to purchase her at the beginning. So I think it's like 30,000 coins to get her, which is
Now
hilarious because she's a referee.
well, that's a good rib. She's blocked me on everything social media related because
Mm,
of I find her one of the primary reasons why I find it difficult to watch AEW.
yeah.
I grew up in the era of Tommy Young and the Hebners where they added to the match but weren't trying to get themselves over by being front and center. So that's a disincentive right off the bat. So off the top of your head,
Yeah.
who what major characters stand out that you get when you purchase the initial product?
All right, so I'll just say it. Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, the Bucks, Dustin Rhodes is on there, John Silver is on there, Trent Beretta. Um, who else is on there? Oh yeah, like what's that? Nyla Rose is on there as well. Yeah, just
Miro.
yes, he is.
Okay, well
Absolutely.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on there too. Who else? Just, I mean, just your, I guess your typical. If you name somebody, I could probably tell you. But
Is Punk in this? Because I heard there was some speculation he would not be.
yeah, so I'll just say this. Sadly, yeah, he's on here. Yeah.
Okay. What about the FTR?
See, you have to buy those guys, and guess how much that is?
How
That's
much?
$12. But if you get the season pass, which is $29.99, I've heard that'll include all the DLC and all the things that are upcoming. So if you spend another $30, you get product that you probably already should have.
Mhm. So that's something before we get into the actual gameplay and the graphics. That's something that you mentioned to me that is definitely uh, unusual, at least in terms of a layman's perspective on video games, in that they're not going to be, for example, like the 2Ks. They're not going to be releasing a new, slightly altered version every year, but an alternative to that.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered. They'll just keep for I read somewhere that I believe it'll be a year that they'll continue doing this. And then I think they'll work on another one. Maybe they're working on something else right now. I'm just not sure. But a year is what they've given us fans from what I've read, is that they'll keep updating for a year.
And you of course have to purchase those updates. What kind of cheese is that, or does it vary between the $12, etc.?
So that season pass that I mentioned, the
Mm-hmm.
$30, if you get that, then you get all the stuff that's upcoming the year. That'll pay for your year of stuff that they keep putting out. So
On top of a $60 initial price.
right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting business model. So back to the game modes and the gameplay. Why don't you run the fans through that?
So you have your standard one-on-one exhibition, your two-on-two, your handicap, your four-way, your exploding barbed wire match, which is yeah, that's interesting. that's all I'll say is that's very very interesting.
Does it blow up better than the one that they had on the pay-per-view a couple of years ago? Like, does it actually blow up, or is it just smoke and no? Oh, it's just like that?
It's like it did on the pay-per-view, man. It's like 3, 2, 1,
Poof.
and then the guys just like go like this and fall over, man. It's funny. Yeah. And then, well, we get away from that. There'll be the mini games like you and I were talking about. That's another thing. There are no cage matches on this thing, which I found strange because you and I are wrestling fans, like everyone on here, and cage matches are great.
A staple, yeah.
Yes, oh, absolutely. They do have that casino battle royale though. That's pretty fun. That's like your Royal Rumble AEW style.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have actually teams on that too, like teams of 4, and then you all compete and eliminate the other teams, and then yeah, it's like survival.
The mini games you touched on, I know you sent me some of the screenshots of that. Can you run those through run that through your analysis? Because sometimes these mini games are actually interesting and engaging, but I understand from you that that's not the case here.
So, like I was saying to you earlier, the trivia is my favorite by far. That's because I mean you get to learn stuff there too, which is neat, I guess. But the other two, there's one where you're collecting poker chips. You're running around and collecting poker chips, and there are bombs and things like that falling. No, yeah, and it sounds interesting, but I found it very hard and very it was just very annoying. And then the third one is Pentagon's dance moves, where you have to copy his dance moves and you get points that way. Then the person with the most points wins.
Yeah, it sounds less than engaging. Are they working on more of those, or is that just
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah. They'll those DLC packs that I was telling you about, apparently they'll be putting more mini games in there. And then there's that Stampede as well that's coming out, that Stadium Stampede.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's like Fortnite meets wrestling, so that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it was kind of a, in my opinion, regrettable concept for a match, but maybe it'll translate better into the game. So, in terms of the graphics,
Yeah.
and this is something that was somewhat controversial before the game was released, in that they seem to release a couple of I would say earlier developmental versions. Like we've all seen the one of Eddie Kingston that didn't
Yeah.
resemble what he actually looks like in the game. How would you, being familiar with many other wrestling games, how would you characterize the graphics themselves?
All right. So what I'll compare them to, obviously, I'll be WWE, and there's there's no real comparison, man. Like these guys are going for a more cartoony gameplay, I would say, very cartoony, very animated sort of thing. Because I mean, Omega's anime guy, so of course that's going to be the case. But so in comparison, realism, I'd give that to WWE, and this is more of a cartoony, but still very fun. Yeah.
Would you would you characterize the graphics as smooth or choppy? Because early on, again, some, I'm not sure what level of development the footage was at. It seemed very herky jerky during the movements. Was that how it translated at the end, or no?
No, like I was saying earlier, I haven't encountered any like glitches or any blocky like what we saw earlier on. So
Hmm.
I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, I haven't encountered any of that.
So, in terms of the actual gameplay itself, this is something that you mentioned earlier to me was a highlight. Can you discuss that aspect and then compare it to 2K and some of the earlier ones? And I believe you said the surprisingly enough, the engine for Fight Forever is the same one from 99's No Mercy.
Yeah, so THQ partnered up with AEW here, and yes, it's the same engine that we grew up with. So yeah, it's what I'll say is that uh, it seems like the moves in this game, there aren't as many for you to like choose from or use, which is okay because in WWE you have so many, and it's mind blowing how many you have. So in here they've really made it simple for the average everyday person to pick up, which is nice. So that's, I would give that to the AEW. Like that's a highlight for me for sure.
The actual breakdown again, the actual matches that you can have and any sort of interesting aspects of those. I know you were talking about unlocking Owen Hart and some of the things
Oh,
that he can do. So enlighten the fans on that, if you will. Some of the interesting aspects of the gameplay.
sure. So your one-on-one, from what I've gathered, it's just your typical one-on-one. But if you go outside, you can get away with hitting people with weapons, and you won't get disqualified. So that's pretty neat. Just reach into the crowd like you could on No Mercy,
Hmm.
and do it like you could back then on here. So that's
Hmm.
really neat. The lights out match, which is like, it's crazy because at the beginning you have objects falling from the ceiling and they just land in the ring, and then you start off with weapons all over. And then your falls count anywhere is just that falls count anywhere. You can, this is really neat too. You can go up on the ramp, and there's that big jumbo screen. You can smack your opponent into it. It'll start like pixelating. You do it
Hmm.
again, it'll break down the middle, and then you do it a third time, and the glass shatters. It's just,
Cool.
oh, yeah, it's really neat. So, but you can't go backstage or anything like that. So that's kind of a bummer because I like going backstage, but
You might find Tony Khan indulging in some party favors if you went backstage. So Therefore,
Maybe.
that's probably not appropriate for the game.
Yeah.
What about the negatives of the gameplay? Is there anything that either graphics? I know again I'm referring to something that I saw online where an individual was doing a power bomb through a ladder or something, and the other wrestler kind of melted through the ladder, and it just looked really glitchy. But was that your experience at all, or
I didn't see that. I mean, just like your table will disappear, and I don't like that. There is one. I exploded one table last night, and this is the first time I saw it. You were able to pick up one part of the table, not the other part. So you could
Mhm,
still use, I guess, half the table,
mhm.
but it just disappears. And also, this is another unique thing too, is that you're only allowed to use the weapon, hit the person twice, and then that's it, and then it disappears. So I guess that would be a negative for me too, is that you're only allowed to use the weapon for 2 hits and then it's gone.
Is it the traditional life bar that you wear down and then do a pin? Does it have to be at a certain spot before you do a finisher, or is it like AEW where it's high spots all the time and there's no prerequisite to have your man worn down?
So yeah, you beat your opponent down, you get yourself a signature, you hit the signature, you taunt, you get a finisher, you hit your finisher. Sometimes they kick out, sometimes they don't. So what you'll want to do is get them into that danger zone, and then it'll start flashing danger. You pin them, and you have a higher chance of victory. So yeah, it's not high spots all the time, but I guess you could do it like that.
Just like their TV.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of cut scenes or promos inserted in this, or how does that aspect work? Can before a match, can you each cut a promo or a preloaded promo? None of that stuff like
No.
WWE games or anything.
No, 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 no. There's their Road to Elite. That's their career mode.
Hmm.
Um, it's limited. Like that person was saying before, once you've played it once, you've played it. Honestly,
Hmm.
that's how it is. The
Hmm.
one I will touch on something Road to Elite, and I'm gonna send it to you later.
Hmm.
When you're playing in Toronto, you'll go to a restaurant and they
Hmm.
mention Rob Ford in there.
Really?
I'll send it to you
That's it.
after.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
What about the issue about commentary? Because we've had ongoing commentary in these video games since the early two, maybe not the early 2000s, but mid 2000s. What's up with that in this game?
No, you were actually right. Early 2000s, because Just Bring It, very little commentary, but there was still commentary, so you got that. So like I was telling you earlier, at the beginning of a match, you'll get Justin Roberts saying blah blah blah, one fall, la di da di da, and then at the end, you'll either get Tony Schiavone, you'll get Excalibur, or you'll get Jim Ross saying that was a hell of a bout and I can't wait to see it next time. What they did was, I guess, in your creation suite is just like a tutorial thing, and it's Taz, I believe, and he'll talk just a little bit, and then you'll go into other what you call it, like panels and stuff, and they'll talk a little bit. But as far as commentary in game, non-existent.
Do you know why they opted not to do that, given the expense and the time that they've spent?
So I think that goes back to No Mercy, because No Mercy didn't have commentary. So they're like,
Mm.
okay, we may as well preserve the old school gaming and just go that. That's the only guess that I have.
Is it enough of a, notwithstanding the fact that some of the WWE 2K commentary can be
Oh
repetitive, is it enough of a disincentive to take away from the game, or is it just
no,
neutral?
that's neutral, man. I don't mind it personally because on those 2K games, I just mute it anyway.
Mm.
Honestly,
Mhm.
so no, that's not a deterrent at all.
And the entrances do contain their actual music and not the no.
So as far as AEW, yes, yeah.
Mm.
Those, yes, but it's very short. You get like a 5 to 6 second, like they come up, they do their little taunt, and then that's it. So you only get like a 5 or 6 second of their theme. Um, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So, in terms of positives and negatives, before we get your final letter grade, and ultimately, in your opinion, is this a good purchase for the around $60? What are the major positives of this game, and what are the major negatives?
So what I'll say is right off the top, Owen Hart getting to play as him again. That's oh come on, like that has to be my number one or two just to purchase this game just for him alone. Honestly,
Mhm.
the second thing I'll say is the thumbtacks. Getting those thumbtacks is really cool, but the way that they use them is just it's funny because you throw your opponent onto them and it's like like those little not fireworks, but like those little firecrackers. So
Mhm,
when they
mhm,
fall on them, each tack like lights up, like flames up, and like
mhm,
so
mhm.
that's I mean, it's neat to see that, but I guess that could be a negative as well. Um I I guess those are my positives and just it's fun. It really is. It's fun. Easy to play, pick up, play. Um Negatives. So we'll go with the creation suite. Like I was saying, very limited, very limited. Even places that you can put your guys from is very limited. Like when it comes to us Canadians, there aren't
Mhm,
many places on there.
mhm,
Um, the roster size, another huge negative. Making us pay another $30
mhm,
for the
mhm,
season pass is another negative. So,
mhm.
and I guess the time it took to put this thing out is another negative, and then to have it the way that it is. So, it's fun. That's all I could say. It's a blast.
So, in terms of one other question with John Moxley on the roster, no doubt,
Yeah.
is there blood in the game
Ooh,
per se?
yeah. Oh
Yeah, there
yeah.
is. Oh, okay.
Oh God. Those guys like gush. That ring is
Wow.
full of blood. Oh yeah, I'll show you after. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Lots of blood.
Does Moxley get caught on camera gigging himself, or is it a little smoother?
It's smoother on this one, man.
Sorry, that's a pet peeve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so in terms of final grade that you would give this game, with the keeping in mind the the ultimate goal of video games is to be fun, what would you grade it? And right after that, would you recommend folks go out and get it now, or wait till it's reduced in price a little bit, given this $30 added
Yeah.
bonus, I guess?
Oh, that actually brings up something else too. If you pre-ordered it, I was gonna say this, you get to play as Broken Matt Hardy or Woken, whatever the hell you want to call him, Matt Hardy and Woken Matt Hardy. But that's another $8, I think it was. So
Hmm.
that's up to you. So what I'll give it a B plus, man. Give it a B plus because it was fun as hell.
Mhm.
And again, anyone could pick this up. Like it's easy. Um, yeah.
And it's worthy of a purchase at the current price, even with the added extras. Or
Now, I I don't know because honestly, I think in maybe a month, less than a month, you're gonna see like a 10, maybe $20 decrease. I would
Mhm,
wait. I
mhm,
would. I'd
mhm.
wait. Yeah.
So, in the final analysis, we've got a product that is a fun video game and actually somewhat worth the wait. Would you say, or were you expecting? Because personally, as a non-player of modern games, I was thinking, holy cow, this is taking a year and a half, whatever, to get released. I'm expecting some pretty spectacular, fabulous things.
Yeah.
Did it meet your expectations given all that buildup?
uh you know what? Like, it was just fun. That's all. That's the word I'm going to use. It was fun. My expectations, I was expecting just to have an AEW game, so I was happy just to have an AEW game. I mean, some people might agree, some people might disagree. It was fun. That's all I could say.
Well, there you have it, fans. The word from Jake in terms of the AEW Fight Forever video game. Before we sign off, I want to mention, though, in terms of Great North Wrestling, our next show in the Great North Wrestling Summer of 2023 will be on Saturday, September 2nd at the Renfrew Armories in Renfrew, Ontario. We have the new champ, the new Canadian champ, my man, Magnum McLaren. He will be there defending the Canadian title against ECW original and legend, the Insane Luchador Super Crazy. We will have Jack Victory making a rare appearance in Ontario, actually Canada. He hasn't been here in 20 years. He is going to be on the card, and I've got something special planned for his services. We will have Jeremy Prophet on the show, Jessica Black, and much, much more to come in the announcements that you will get on the Hannibal TV in the weeks following. So fans, go to ticketweb.ca and grab your tickets now for that huge Renfrew Reckoning show. Tickets will be available in Renfrew at a location to be determined, but you don't want to miss out because this is going to be an exciting card. If you haven't seen a show in a armory style environment, it's one of the best places, throwback places to Jim Crockett Promotions to see a show. And I can tell you by the reaction of our fans from this past Saturday in Smith Falls, Ontario, everyone left happy with the event. So we're going to bring you more of the Great North Wrestling action that you come to expect. And I would be remiss if I did not mention and show the Big Money Players t-shirt available through Magnum McLaren or myself. Get them while they're lasting, limited quantities. I know, Jake, you have one coming your way as an honorary member. And the bottom line is that the Big Money Players have just begun to wreak havoc in Great North Wrestling. Back to AEW Fight Forever. Final thoughts, sir.
Yeah, just wait it out. I mean, and you can do your own research out there too. If you want it, go and get it. It's fun. I mean, just playing his own heart again. The last video game that he was in WWF with was Attitude, and this blows Attitude out of the water. So go out and get it. Do whatever you want. It's fun.
Well, I appreciate your time, Jake, and note that fans, there are several other wrestling video games in the works. We may even circle back and do classic reviews because this is a very popular subject and the synergy we talked about between pro wrestling fans and video game players. So stay tuned. Until then, have a wonderful evening and tune in tomorrow for the ECW original, the Sicilian shooter Nunzio, a man who was just in Smith Falls. He will be on the Old School Shooters podcast with myself and King of Connecticut at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the